Hello, this is Roland. We're continuing with our series on prayer. Let me read from A Guide to True Peace. This is the little book that I published, A Guide to True Peace Revisited. It's a nice version of A Guide to True Peace with an introduction by me, a lengthy introduction. It's very much worth reading. You can get this at Amazon in paperback or in Kindle. Makes a nice gift too. Makes a very nice little gift. A very famous book, Guide to True Peace. It's in the public domain. Constant prayer is to keep the heart always right toward God. Strive then not to suffer your minds to be too much entangled with outward things, endeavoring to be totally resigned to the divine will, that God may do with you and yours according to his heavenly pleasure, relying on him as on a kind and loving Father. And though you be taken up with your outward affairs, and your minds thereby perverted from being actually fixed on him, even then you will always carry a fire about you that will never go out, but which, on the contrary, will nourish a secret prayer that will be like a lamp continually lighted before the throne of God. So let's read a little bit more. Let's read it again. Constant prayer is to keep the heart always right toward God. See, it has a lot to do with your attitude. Remember, someone said, your attitude determines your altitude? No, that's very true. Now, what is the right attitude toward God? Well, it's an attitude of, first of all, of humility. Now, a lot of you could have this attitude of humility toward God. See, a noble person is humble toward God. Okay? But let's take a man, for example. A man is humble toward God. But in the world, he's courageous and forthright, okay, and principled. Okay? So he stands tall, stands for principle in the world, but so he's on his knees before God. He stands tall in the world. A good example would be George Washington, who was a very nice man, a very noble man. And there's a famous painting of him, probably inspired, because I'm sure this really happened. And I think someone said that they did actually observe George Washington in one of the darkest hours of the War for Independence, on his knees in the snow, in the woods, on his knees before God, you see. But in the world he stood tall. He was a great leader, a noble man, and principled and honorable, but on his knees before God. So that's the attitude of the soul. And the other attitude of the soul, or of the heart, is a willingness to know the truth. Actually wanting to know the truth, okay? But wanting to know the truth so much that you're willing to know the truth even if it shows that you're wrong. See, most people don't want to admit they're wrong. They do not want to admit they're wrong. So they make excuses and rationalize and justify. And if you catch them doing something wrong, they become angry. They become angry, as if they can use the emotion to deny their own wrong. The person who has a right attitude is willing to know the truth, wants to know the truth, even if it should show him to be wrong. See, the attitude you should have is like that of a good math student or a good scientist. Okay? The good scientist doesn't mind discovering an error because then he's closer to the truth. Why isn't this working, he wonders. What? Oh, he sees the error. Now he's closer to the solution. The math student, the good math student, doesn't mind the professor pointing out a mistake. Why didn't my problem work out? Well, you made a mistake right there. Oh, okay. See, but the resentful, the prideful, student won't want to see his error, won't want to admit he's wrong. See the difference? Okay. Strive then not to suffer your minds to be too much entangled with outward things. Well, see, strive not to be too much entangled. See, the world pulls on us. And of course, when we're in the world, we have to work. We have a family, we have friends, we have things we have to do. Okay? We have to change tires and change our oil, pay bills, and we got a lot of things we have to do. Okay? So we do them. But, you know, if you're astute, if you're a sensitive person, then you can sense how these things pull on you, and they pull you away from yourself. See? And they can even take your energy, especially if you resent them. If you resent them, they can actually take your energy. So at the end of the day, you feel drained. Okay? So you have to learn how to go through life and do the things that you need to do. But do them with a light touch. Okay? And always as you do them, okay, remember having an eye toward what's right and what's fair. See? Always in the back of your mind is that. Okay? And then you'll go through life safely. And things won't pull you out of yourself. Okay, then the meditation helps too. My meditation, when you begin to practice it, you'll learn how to become more centered, so you can go about your business and activities without getting pulled off out of center. Okay. But Christ spoke about that. Remember the parable of the seed that was planted, the good seed. And remember some of the seed was choked by the weeds, and he said it was the cares of the world. See? So you mustn't make anything more important than what you know in your heart is right. So yeah, you got to do your obligations, and you have to do certain things. You got to wash clothes and mow the grass and things like that. Okay? Just don't make them too important. Okay? Don't make anything more important than what's right. And then you'll also discover, as you become more centered, calmer, practice the meditation, you'll discover that a lot of the things that you used to do don't even have to be done. See? There's obligations things that weren't even your obligation. But you couldn't say no to other people. Okay? And you wanted to prove something, and you wanted to show people how nice you were, how good you were, how clever you were. See? And then you did too much. Now you'll learn the measure of giving and withholding. So you're not always doing people a favor when you do for them. See, like the old proverb, it's better to, if you give a person a fish, then he has food for a day. If you teach him how to fish, then he has food for a lifetime, see? So a lot of times, and this is especially for your kids, okay, you parents, you're better off not doing it for them. Let them do it, okay? Something simple like cleaning their room, or cleaning the room is a good example. Don't go clean the room for them. Keep reminding them patiently, without resentment, without anger, without histrionics. Just remind them, keep reminding them, and eventually they'll clean their room. Okay? Especially when they need to find something and they can't find it, they'll clean it. Or all of a sudden they'll surprise you. They'll become self-motivated and they'll clean their room. See, people change. Kids change. They grow up and mature. But if you're always rushing to do it for them, you're not doing them a favor. That God may do with you and yours according to his heavenly pleasure, relying on him as on a kind and loving Father. Okay? No, that's very true, because that's what he is. He is a kind and loving Father. And though you be taken up with your outward affairs, and your minds thereby prevented from actually being fixed on him, even then you will always carry a fire about you that will never go out. See, that's the importance of the meditation. Because when you meditate, you have a little bit of distance. You have kind of, your soul is standing back. And you go out in the world, and you're in the world, but not of the world. And you can still do things, all the things that you need to do. But with a light touch. See? And with a certain gracefulness. And a thoughtfulness. Okay? And someday, eventually, too, you'll put love in everything you do. Okay? And you'll discover you don't need animal emotion. You don't have to become angry and upset and resentful to motivate yourself to do things. You'll just do them naturally. Okay? And so you'll be able to do them without them impinging upon you, without them drawing energy from you, without them draining you. See? Without them totally absorbing you. Okay? You need to learn how to do that. And so, there will be a fire, it says here, about you, that will never go out, but which, on the contrary, will nourish a secret prayer. See, the cry of the soul is silent. See, your soul, when it wants to do what's right and wants to know the truth, it's a kind of a yearning. It's a mindset. It's a stance. It's a place. It's a yearning. And it's silent. Okay? But it's always there. It will be like a lamp continually lighted before the throne of God. It's very beautiful. Okay? So, I hope you enjoyed today's little reading from A Guide to True Peace. My name is Roland.